Go ahead and dive into your work folder and open up a document with the name 604_3241844.psd from our friends at PhotoSpin. Now, what have we done so far in this particular chapter? Well, we've examined these three tools. We have lightened areas with the Dodge tool, darkened areas with burn, and increased or decreased saturation and or vibrance with the sponge tool. And we did all that using what? Paintbrushes, sizes, softness of the brush, all that was controlling what we did. But the one common denominator between the three tools is destructive editing. If I can get around destructive editing, I would really prefer to do it that way. So in this lesson, we're going to take our leave from those three tools. I want to show you kind of an interesting way to lighten or darken an area of an image, dodge or burn, using a non-destructive method. So come over into the Layers panel and create a new layer. Just click the button right here. Let's name that layer. Double-click here, Overlay. Now I want to fill that layer with about a 50 to 55% gray color. Now if you look over here and say, which one of those is 55%? If you don't have your tooltips on, it's not going to show you. So do this. Click this button, which is Options for the Swatches panel, and go into Small List. And then you can scroll down until you find the actual names of the colors. Now, theoretically, what I'm doing should work at 50% gray, but I find it's probably a little bit better if I run it at 55. So do this. Click on 55% gray. Of course, that changes my color down here to 55% gray. I want to fill the overlay layer with that color. Now, it's a shortcut, different on a Mac or Windows. Let's start with Windows. Hold down the Alt key and press Backspace. On Mac, which is what I'm on, hold down the Option key and press Delete, and voila, you now have a layer full of 55% gray. Now to get it to interact with the image, change the blending mode of the overlay layer to overlay. That's why we called it overlay. Now the image has not appreciably changed. The reason being is if you apply a neutral gray color, actually a neutral gray brightness, to an image in a layer and use the overlay blending mode, it just kind of sits there and says, okay, what do you want me to do? It will get lighter or darker if you change the shade of gray. So if I come over here and pick up my paintbrush tool right there, let's get back up here again and maybe choose something like a 80% gray. Now if I do that, that's what I'm painting with, don't forget. If I come over here and begin playing around, it darkens the image. So darker shades of gray produce burning. Let me go ahead and undo that. If we come up to a shade lighter, we were at 55. If we go up to a lighter shade of gray, like say 40, and then paint again, it lightens based on the shade of gray. So it's a non-destructive, in a way, dodge and burn technique. Let me do this. Let me undo that again. I love that key. Let's go into my doctoring of this image. In Channels, I have an area called Sky and an area called Land. Now, the reason I did that is because I want to paint out those areas with shades of gray, and I don't want to paint around trees. I don't know about you, but that's not fun. So I need to make Land a selection and then apply it to the overlay layer with a shade of gray. Easiest way to do this, go back to RGB by clicking here. Now, we will talk more about how I made those selections when we get into the chapter on selection. But to make Land a selection, on a Windows system, hold down the Control key. On a Mac, hold down the Command key and just click. Instant selection. Now, let's go back to Layers. Now, I want to lighten that area up. So if I come up here, lighter grays mean a lighter dodge technique. Let's try about 25% gray. Get in here with my paintbrush and just begin painting those areas out. Now you can stop anytime you want to because we have it selected. Just make sure you get all those areas painted out. As you can see what it did, it lightened those areas. Now if we turn off background, you can see what happened. There's a spot I missed right over there, see it? This is actually the easiest way to do it, just paint it here. Make sure you get everything. Now if I press Control or Command on a Mac, Control in Windows, D, it deselects it. But we can then bring this back in and see I did indeed lighten that area up. Now I want to lighten the sky up, but not as much. So let's go to Channels. Let's go down and select Sky by Control on Windows, Command on a Mac clicking. Got it selected. Let's go back to Layers. In this case, I'm going to about a 45% gray. I don't want to lighten it as much. Come over here with my paintbrush. Just a subtle look here. Just lighten it up. Now again, we can turn off this one for a second, make sure we got everything, and it looks like we did. If I press Control D or Command D on a Mac to deselect it, you can see those three areas. And there you go. If I click here, there's the original. If I turn it back on again, there you go. But what we've succeeded in doing is a very temporary thing, because I can come back tomorrow now and wish I had not made it as light or maybe lighter, and just simply change the colors in the overlay layer, dodging and burning in a non-destructive way.